I back, friend. I back. How y'all been? It's been a little while. Hope everyone's good. Everyone's healthy. The craziest part about me leaving for all of this time is I recorded the last two prediction videos. UFC 292 predicted O'Malley knocking Sterling out with a pull counter, and then also recorded UFC 293 predicted Sean Strickland to win by dominant decision victory. But I don't know. I think I lost the footage somewhere, so I couldn't post it. Had to move out everything, so it's been a little while. But just know, I know what I'm talking about. Obviously, there was a lot of change with that card. Let's talk about that actually. Let's start off with just the whole shenanigans drama behind it. What are your thoughts about it? A lot of people are super happy about it. At the same time, you know, I don't think the changes are bad. They had no choice, but I was really happy and hyped up to see Charles Oliveira back in action. I thought he would have put up a better fight. I don't know if I can be that biased to have picked Charles Oliveira to win that fight, but I was sure that it was going to be a more interesting fight to watch, and I was really hyped up to see that one. So obviously, whenever fights like this happen, it's like a bit of a bittersweet feeling because obviously we're happy to see Volk, but it's sad to see, the fight we were preparing for, like, mentally to watch, and we were getting ourselves excited for to watch, not actually happen. So and also I think Volkanovski just got a bleak personality. Is it just me? Like, he's a great fighter, probably one of the greatest of all times by now, and especially if he wins this weekend, he's probably top 3 greatest of all time. But his personality, bro, I can't stick to the guy. He's just bleh, you know what I mean? But obviously that fight is great, especially, like, technically speaking. I think Volkanovski is just the most difficult stylistic matchup for Makhachev out of all the fighters, even at 155, in my opinion. Like, Volk just got a style that is very difficult to deal with for Makhachev because he's not the greatest of strikers. So he's, obviously they're pretty, I would say almost equal on the feet because Makhachev got a bit of like a reach advantage. He's a bit taller, so obviously it helps him. Obviously, maybe technically Volk is a bit better, but because of those little height and reach advantages, I think it makes them pretty equal on the feet. But the thing that makes Volk so difficult to take down is he's so compact, short, and like kind of, a little like the shorter the guy is, the less leg you have to grab, pause. There's less neck to choke out. There's less limb to take care of. So yeah, Alexander Volkanovski is just very difficult to deal with, especially for a guy like Islam. So it's gonna be a very difficult matchup, and I think what we're most hyped about is Usman versus Chimaev. Now, are you more hyped for Usman versus Chimaev than Costa Chimaev? I don't think so. I think we're like kind of lying to ourselves. Like, Costa versus Chimaev would have been better, most likely more interesting to watch. Finally, Chimaev fights an actual 185ers. But I guess, the MMA gods weren't on our side for this one. So it's still a very great matchup, and I'm very happy to see it. I think Usman is a great test for Chimaev. Overall, this card is great. We also have Johnny Walker, Magomed Ankalaev. That's a great fight. Ikram Aliskerov versus Alves. Said Nurmagomedov. That's one of my favorite fighters, honestly, on the roster, but he's had a few bad fights. So I'm going to go over the main card, predict all of it, and let's just start with the first fight on the main card, which is Said Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov. I don't know that guy. I went and rewatched his fight. I think he had one fight in the UFC before this, so he's like a newcomer, you know what I mean? So the UFC is giving him a tough test with Said. I'm not going to lie, you know what I mean? Like, if you had one fight in the UFC, then you're already fighting these Dagestanis, monsters. It sucks. Said is one of those, and I remember making a video a while back, and, I think it was something with, the best UFC fighters by country or something like that, and I actually talked about Said. It was a big, like, important segment. I think my writers had, like, kind of, I don't know, maybe he didn't brought him up, and I was like, nah, it's very important to talk about him specifically because I think he's a prospect and a very dangerous guy coming up at 135. So I really want to put some emphasis on this guy. So I remember just watching his fight. I think it was who was it against? He had a super fast guillotine. The American dude, I forget his name. Yeah, Cody Stanman. Yeah. Then he had like a few tough fights against. I think Andrade was a close fight, but he had won that one. And then the other guy, I can't even pronounce his name, Kakramanov. I remember watching that fight as well. He got a choke in the second round, I think, but he was getting beat up in the first. And then Jonathan Martinez, that's his last fight. He lost by decision. By now we see how good he is, right? But back then, I remember watching that fight and was like, how good actually is Jonathan Martinez? If, Said was getting beat up by him, I was like, maybe he wasn't as good as I thought. But then, we realized, especially this weekend, Jonathan Martinez is as good as they come. Pretty much destroyed Adrian Yanez, and I didn't see that coming at all. So Jonathan Martinez is one of those as well. He's like a very, very high level prospect at 135. So it makes the loss a little, a little less bitter, I guess. And I just think, like I said, Said versus Muin Gafurov is a bit of a mismatch. I saw Gafurov's last fight, kind of a weird tendencies, kind of complaining to the refs a lot, headbutting, cage grabbing, all this stuff. So he's a great fighter. He doesn't seem to gas out, which is something Said struggles a bit. But in terms of like technical, everywhere, I think Said is just so fast. His striking is so crisp. So it's gonna be hard. The thing that I'm stressed a little bit about is Gafurov got some good like pressure fight. You know what I mean? And that's what Nurmagomedov isn't so good with. Whenever a guy's really pushing the pace, because number one, his style is really relies on like kickboxing distance, so he needs distance to throw these kicks and push kicks. And Gafurov in his last fight was really good at just pressuring the guy all like throughout the whole fight. So if he does that against Said, it might be tough. But I'm still gonna pick Said Nurmagomedov, and I picked him by submission in the second round because I do think Gafurov is gonna like pressure him the whole way through, maybe shoot some takedowns, get him against the fence. He's going to get picked apart on the feet, shoot for some takedowns, and then I think Nurmagomedov is going to be able to secure a submission in the second round. That's my pick, Said by submission in the second round. If we move on, we're going to move on to Ikram Vs versus Warley Alves. Two guys that I don't know much about, I'm not going to lie. So I went and rewatched some of their fights. I think I'm doing a better job now. Whenever I want to do like these prediction videos, I'm actually going to go and do a bit of research on each guys that I'm going to predict for, so that, I have a conclusive answer. You know what I mean? So I went and rewatched that Phil Hawes fight from Ikram, and there was, great performances overall. But if you looked at it, the beginning of the round, he was getting pieced up a little bit. He was getting pieced up on the feet, but he is big. He is strong. He does seem like durable, I should say. And Warley Alves is like, he's coming off 2 losses, I think, or is it 1 loss? One of the 2. Let me go make sure. Yeah. So Warley Alves is coming off 2 back-to-back losses. He took a 2-year break in between those 2 losses. He lost by KO against Jeremiah Wells in 2021, June of 2021, got KO'd. And then came back in 2023, lost a split decision to Nicholas Dalby. So not on the best of streaks, but he's still young, just 32 years of age. And I saw his fights, and I think he has some potential. The only thing is, he is a welterweight fighter usually. He took this fight as well on short notice because I don't remember his name, obviously, but the French dude that fights with that trains with Cyril Gane. It was Nassourdine Imavov. Yeah, that's the guy. He pulled out a few weeks back, I think, and then he took that fight, Warley Alves, on a few weeks' notice, moving up a weight class. Not the best of conditions for him, obviously. He's fighting a bigger guy, and not on the best of streak. Not a lot of activity as well, so I'm going to go with Ikram, and I'm going to go by decision. From what I've seen, I think Warley Alves is durable enough, tough enough to not get submitted or KO'd. But I do think, obviously, that's the thing. A lot of time when these dudes move up in weight class, they become just more durable because they have less weight to cut. They're just better equipped for a fight. At a natural weight classes that they are. So I think it might favor him in terms of the durability. He might not get KO'd as bad as he would if he did have to lose that weight. So for that reason, I'm going to pick decision instead of KO. I think if it was at welterweight, it might have been different, but at middleweight, I think he's going to be able to, he's going to be fast, evading some of the power punches, but overall, I think Ikram should get the better of him over the 3 rounds. So I'm going to pick Ikram by decision. And let's move on to the third fight of the card. Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. Great fight, tough fight. Probably the hardest, the most amount of time that I spent on a fight. Like I'm struggling to figure out who's going to win this fight. I'm not gonna lie, because there's 2 arguments you can make, right? Magomed Ankalaev is most likely, and I think definitely the more technical striker. He's probably better pretty much everywhere. You look at his ground game, he has it. Whether he wants to use it or not, that's a different question, but it's there. And you see, when he fought Jan Blachowicz, he was getting kicked. His legs were beat up. Whenever he decided to shoot a takedown, basically he had it. But obviously depends whenever he wants to use it. His striking is also very crisp. He's technical as well. Decent power, not the most amount of power, but overall, I think he's the better mixed martial artist. The thing with Johnny Walker that is so difficult to predict is that he's tall, very tall, unpredictable in terms of striking, and he doesn't have a usual stance and stuff like that. And his power is just unreal. Whenever he lands, if he lands correctly, he's gonna put you out. And he's done it with Paul Craig. He's done it on the come up to multiple guys. The first minute of this fight is going to be crucial for Magomed Ankalaev because especially earlier on, Johnny Walker is extremely powerful and durable. I would hope Ankalaev is going to try to get some grappling exchanges, whether it's just holding Walker against the fence, trying to take him down, just wear on him a little bit so that whenever you're back on the feet, there's not that same sting to his punches, because if they are going to, brawl, I'm going to favor Johnny Walker. Hopefully, Magomed is patient and technical enough not to do that. So I'm going to hope that he doesn't. And I'm going to pick Magomed Ankalaev by, what did I say? I said second round TKO. It is a tough one. I think there's also a big asterisk with this prediction. You just never know with someone like Johnny Walker with that type of power. One shot is all it takes. But I'm gonna hope that Ankalaev remains smart, makes smart decisions, decides to grapple a little bit, and pick him out on the feet a little bit as well. So it's tough, but I'm going to go Ankalaev by second round TKO. Also, Johnny Walker's chin is just so bad. I don't know. Obviously, it's been 3 fights now, but his chin has been a little bit fishy. But like I said, it's been 3 fights, so we never know. I'm going to go Ankalaev by second round TKO, but very, very risky pick. I'm not going to lie. Let's move on to the co-main event, most anticipated fights of the card, in my opinion, especially for me. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. Listen, this is another risky pick for me, but I'm picking Usman. I'm picking Kamaru Usman by decision. I know. This is a tough one. In the back of my mind, I'm like, this is most likely not going to happen, but I just think that for Chimaev to win, he needs, it's kind of like the similar story to the Ankalaev versus Walker fight. He needs to be very, very he needs to land something big in the first minute or 2 minutes of this fight. Early in this fight, he needs to land something big, or else Usman's pace, power, and his style, the way he fights Usman, he's built to fight for a longer period of time. Obviously, this fight is only 3 rounds, but you've seen Chimaev, kind of slow down against Gilbert Burns and stuff like that. And, the reason, the main reason why I pick Usman to win this fight is just because we've seen Chimaev dominate so much, but, there's a big but. He hasn't faced the caliber of fighter that he's being compared to yet. You know what I mean? Outside of Gilbert Burns. And that Gilbert Burns fight was a big eye-opener for all of us because outside of Burns, he was dominating everyone else, Li Jingliang, Gerald Mearshart, Kevin Holland, obviously, was supposed to fight Nate Diaz. He's just been fighting dudes that he was supposed to beat. Even Gilbert Burns, he's like, what, he's 5'10", a former 155-pounder. Chimaev was so much bigger, and Burns put some damage on Chimaev. So I'm just saying, like, there's a difference in between the caliber of fighters that Chimaev has faced. So it's going to be a big challenge for Chimaev, even though, like, he's favored to win. And I think most likely it might happen. But just for that reason, that different caliber of fighter, he's been inactive for so long. That fight against Gilbert Burns, to me, is the fight that matters. And when was that? Was it April of 2022? It's been a while, man. It's been like a year and a half. Obviously, he fought Holland in the meantime, but also that fight was like a minute with Holland, who's not at all prepared for that fight. So, like I said, it's just the circumstances to me that makes this fight a bit bad. I know Chimaev's been preparing. Usman's coming off like 2 losses against Edwards. Every single circumstances should favor Chimaev to win this fight. But I'm going underdog. I'm saying fuck it. Like I said, I just think in terms of the competition, Usman is as high as they come. And maybe he's not as good as he once was. But even when you look at the 2 Leon Edwards fight, he was there. He was winning that first fight until he got KO'd. And arguably, he should have won that second fight as well. That third fight, I mean. Arguably. Obviously, I don't think so. I think Edwards won, and I think Edwards should be the champion by now. But especially with that point deduction in the third fight, there was some very, very tight rounds that some people might have argued for Usman. So what I'm saying is he's not washed up. He's not 45. Obviously, he is getting old, but he is still a very, very tough challenge. And also, another point that to me is very important, I know Usman has been training for Chimaev for a while. Like, he's been calling him out for a long time. I think after that third fight against Edwards, a lot of people thought, Usman and Chimaev was going to get paired up at 170 anyways. Those were like, obviously the former champion coming, leaving a little bit the division while the big prospect is coming up. Usually that's the way matchmaking goes. So I think Usman, he's not prepared for this fight, but he's been preparing for Chimaev for a little while. I'm sure he's watched some film. I'm sure he has some game plans already in his mind. So, like I said, it's a very, very risky pick, but I'm going Usman. Fuck it. I'm going Usman. I think he still has it. And like I said, Chimaev needs to do something big early on in the fight, or else Usman might just put his head down, push him up against the fence, throw some strike, put the pressure on him, and Chimaev might gas out. I'm just saying. Might not happen. Most likely won't, but that's who I'm picking. Let's move on to the main event. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski 2. Now listen, guys. I made a video after that first fight at UFC 284, and I said, why are we pretending like Volkanovski won? And it was important to me to make this video. I think it's one of my most popular video on the TFB Stocks channel. A lot of people related to what I said because whenever I went online, everybody was like, Volkanovski should have won, robbery, blah, blah, blah. Still, people nowadays think that it was a split decision or something like that. The fight was a unanimous decision in Volkanovski's home country, in Perth, Australia, where Islam had the least amount of circumstances in his favor, the least amount of time to rehydrate. Obviously, the fans weren't against him. Khabib Nurmagomedov wasn't in his corner. Like, all of this stuff, it just felt like Makhachev had everything, against him, and he still came out and won. And to me, it was just a little bit annoying to see like all of the support for Volkanovski, which to me was he deserved that. He deserved that support because nobody had, gave that type of fight to Islam. So congratulations. But at the same time, I didn't like the fact that we just brushed over the fact that Islam had won, had beat the pound for pound king, and nobody gave him his flowers. And that really pissed me off. So I made a video about it. I'm like, listen, if there's that much respect put on Volkanovski for losing a fight to Islam, let's put some respect on Islam as well for winning that fight, because he's the real champion. You know what I mean? So to me, it pissed me off, and I think I still have a little bit of that bias in my mind again. I want Islam to win. I think Islam's the better fighter. I think, I don't know, it's a tough one, but, better fighter for that weight class, and maybe pound for pound is different. Pound for pound, Volkanovski should probably be above. Let's be real. But in terms of, for 155, Islam's the better fighter, and he's proved it. And I think now in Abu Dhabi, everything's, it's in favor. Like it's completely like opposite of what it was. Now it's in Islam's home turf, more time to rehydrate. Has been preparing for a fight for a while. He fought Volkanovski now, so he has better tools to prepare for the rematch. So, like I said, I think everything is in Makhachev's corner to win this fight, and that's why I'm gonna pick him. It's a simple prediction. I'm picking Makhachev by TKO in the third round. I think he knows what he needs to do. I think he's gonna try to take him down a little bit. Ground and pound. I think there's going to be a lot of striking as well, but what people underestimate is Islam's striking, man. His striking is crisp, too. He's so good defensively, and he's also taller, longer, which it's difficult for Volk to touch him. So all of that I'm saying, I think Islam is still going to pick him apart a little bit on the feet, and then whenever it gets to the ground, which eventually it will, it's going to be some more dominant than it was before. I think Volk might be, obviously, he might be prepared for the feet, but on the ground, less time to prepare. Makhachev is going to be more conditioned. It's going to be tough, and Volkanovski might just, I don't know, man. He's getting a bit older. I think Makhachev should win this. But like I said, it's MMA. Anything can happen, and I'm not even going to be surprised. Honestly, not even going to be surprised if Volkanovski catch him with a right hand or something and puts Makhachev down, because guess what? It's MMA, and this shit happens every fucking weekend. I cannot believe my eyes every time I do it. So these prediction videos are fucking useless, but they're fun to do. They're fun to talk about. But at the end of the day, it's like probably, like I said, it's the most unpredictable sport on earth. And regardless of how many like factors, you can have a million boxes for certain fighters checked out. Like every single circumstance is in a favor of a fighter, and then the complete opposite happens. And we've seen it this year, especially this year. Underdogs have won nonstop this year. So, like I said, anything can happen. But in terms of on paper and what I feel in my mind and in my heart, I'm going Islam. And I'm hoping Islam can win as well, because goddamn, he's funny. I like his personality. He's just cool, bro. He's just cool. Have you not seen his interview? Go Google or YouTube Islam's funny moment. The dude is funny, bro. I just like him. I think he's cool as fuck. He's humble, and he's the champion we deserve. You know what I mean? He's a rightful champion at 155. Fights everybody, takes the rematches, all of that stuff. Obviously, if it's Oliveira, I would have said, yeah, fuck Islam. But now that he's fighting Volk, I'm like, let's go Islam. We have to see it. And I also want to see Charles get his rematch with Islam. I want to see Charles beat Islam, not Volk. Volk can dominate 145. He's done it now. Let Islam be there. I think Islam deserves it. And then, whenever Charles wants it back, he'll go get it back. Right. I'm a bit biased. But anyways, those are my predictions. Let me know what y'all predictions are down below. By that point, I think the updated UFC 294 deeper dive should be up on the main channel. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. And if you're not subbed to this channel, TFB Stocks, I'll be posting more videos on here. So make sure you sub up and let me know what type of videos you'd like to see. With that being said, I'll let you guys go. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Peace out, boys. Should I do this? Or this is too cringe, right? No, I'll do it.